If your budget isn't working, let's fix it.
In 10 minutes or less.
We don't know about you, but the budget that we set up 12 months ago, that is not the budget that we are working with today. And part of it is because in 2022, we've seen those exponentially rising prices. Now, one of the things about budgets is you have to understand that it's not just you set it and forget it. Budgets are very much something that you need to be working on regularly in order to keep that budget up to date with what the economy is really doing. Now, in this video, we're going to give you some steps that you can take. They're not going to take long, 10 minutes or less each day, and it's going to help you feel like you are more in control of where your dollars are going.
If you don't know us, I'm Larry.
And I'm Hope.
And we're from Under the Median, where every week we talk about practical frugality. Well, let's start out. We have 10 tips for you on this video. And the first one is set quarterly goals.
Now, this sounds a little bit more involved than it actually is. We do this every single quarter, 10 minutes or less, we promise you. You're going to look at 3 to 4 different areas of your budget that you want to impact in the next 90 days. Then underneath each area you want to impact, you're going to set 3 to 5 action steps you're going to take to help make that happen. Then over the next 90 days, you sort of watch how you're doing, if you're implementing those action steps, and if they've helped to lower that area of your budget. At the end of 90 days, you just evaluate how everything went and decide whether you're going to keep those budget goals for the next 90 days or if you're going to change it out and bring some other budget goals in. But 3 to 4, we have found if you do more than that, it's just a little bit overwhelming.
That kind of gives you a chance to make some adjustments if it's needed in the budget.
It does, and it helps you hyper focus, really focus in on. We find that the more focused we are, the more that the needle moves in our budget. So it helps you sort of focus all of your energies on those 3 to 4 areas, and it really does help to lower those areas of your budget.
Well, let's talk about our second tip, where it says we need to set up an electronic budget system, like a budget tracking system. Now, we use Dave Ramsey's Every Dollar. Hope used to write this all down. We wrote them down in a ledger book like my parents used. It goes all the way back to like 1941 for them. And then she would hand figure out all the tracking in every category, and it was so laborious. This does most of the work for you.
So much easier. Now, we use the free version of Every Dollar. We really have not found that there's a lot of benefit for us to upgrading to the paid version, so the free version will work just fine for you. We'll make sure, by the way, that there's a link to Every Dollar in the description of the video.
Number 3, scan your receipts. And while you're doing that, keep the receipts all in one area. We actually have a little box that we put them all in, so Hope can grab those. She can scan them. And one of the ways she does that is she scans them to Fetch, where we get some rewards for all the shopping that we do.
We love Fetch. Tell us in the comments section, are you a Fetch fan? Listen, if you don't already have Fetch, I'm going to make sure there's a link to it in the video description so you can grab it. We've talked about Fetch a lot on this channel, and they are one of those savings apps that we really, really do like. Now, we talked about scanning your receipts into Fetch and uploading, but there's another sort of scanning that you want to do with those receipts, and that is to scan those receipts for errors or overcharges before you leave the store.
And you know, if the store is really busy and you got a lot of people waiting in line, it's probably not a good idea to do it at the checkout counter, but take it out to your car and look it over. Maybe you live 30 miles from the store. You don't want to make a trip back, but it's very common these days for checkout people to make some errors, especially if you have a complicated deal where you've got a lot of coupons, store coupons. Maybe they have a 20% off on that product. It can get a little complicated. Make sure you have a calculator, do your math, and then if there's a mistake, you can always go back in and get it corrected.
One of the things I do that's been super helpful for me is that list before I go to the store. If I have a coupon for that item, I put a C in red ink and circle it off to the left-hand side of that item. And my eye catches it because that red color, my eye goes, wait a minute, I'm supposed to have a coupon. There should be a discount on this item. And it helps me to sort of track everything. I always watch, and I don't know if everybody else does this or not, but I watch. I get to where I'm in an angle where I can see them physically ring up. And I've caught a lot of mistakes before they actually print out the receipt in the first place.
Yeah.
I think the hardest part is when they don't apply those discounts until they hit the subtotal, and then all of a sudden they're all populating, and you're like, holy cow, and you're trying to keep up with making sure that you got the discounts that you should have gotten. But so scan it as they go in, watch as the checkout person puts the amounts onto your sales receipt, and then check the receipt physically after you check out.
Tip number 4 is scan all of your bank statements and debit card statements. Make sure there's no fraudulent charges being inserted in there. Make sure they're accurate. And that way you're also tracking some of your spending as well. You might look at some of those and go, oh, did I spend that much money this month? But take a look at those. It's another way to track expenses.
It's interesting to me because a lot of times when we use the debit card and we don't use cash, I'll say, Larry, how much was it? And he's like, I don't know. And so it's easy to happen that, you're just sliding that plastic. And especially if you're using a credit card instead of a debit card, it's easy to sort of lose track of exactly how much you're spending. But good idea. Once again, another scan to scan those receipts for any possible mistakes or fraudulent activity.
Yeah, I pay more attention to what I'm paying per item, but I don't really look at the bottom line on that statement or on the receipt when I'm checking out, like at Walmart, for instance. And so, yeah, it's a good idea to check that out and make sure that everything's going well. This is tip number 5, and I think it's a really good tip. Declutter your home. Take 10 minutes a day to go through and determine, do I need this? Do I really have to have it? Am I using it? And take maybe a couple things out of your home every day. The less clutter you have, the more easily you can be organized and track the things that you have.
And don't just move the items around your home. You're looking to discard, donate, or sell items.
Number 6 is order your own credit report. There's actually 3 reporting agencies for this.
That's right, 3 major agencies in the United States. Now, normally, you could order a free credit report from each of those 3 agencies one time per year. But during the pandemic, the rules totally changed. They realized that people really needed to check more often. So right now, that rule is suspended. You can order multiple credit reports from any of the 3 reporting agencies. You can get your credit report pulled up to one time per week. We don't think that's necessary.
Oh, no.
However, this goes through December of 2023, where you can get those free credit reports more than one time per year.
So this is really good. If you're concerned with maybe some fraudulent activity on some of your accounts, then you can get that ordered a little more often than once a year and give yourself a little peace of mind. To get a copy of your credit report, you can go to www.annualcreditreport.com, and we'll leave a link for that in the description of this video.
Tip number 7, make an instead of list. This will give you fuel in order to make sure that those areas that you're getting stuck in overspending, that you overcome those temptations. So let us give you an example. If you really like to go out to eat, make a list that says, instead of going out to eat, we will do this. We will make a restaurant knockoff meal at our home. We will do a cook-off contest with us and the kids on Friday night. We will make homemade pizza at home and have a movie night on Friday night. You get the idea. Once you sort of run through the list of this was what I'm going to do instead of this previous behavior, it allows you to think outside the box and realize I really don't have to do that.
Would that fall in line with my bike ride yesterday when I bought $5 worth of snacks at Casey's? So instead of $5 worth of snacks at Casey's, I take some snacks from home.
And instead of facing your wife's wrath, you can live in a peaceful household.
Number 8, start or add to your frugal strategies list. You might come up with a brilliant idea, and then 5 or 6 days later, it slips your mind and you can't remember it. So if you write it down, you'll have it at your fingertips.
This is a running list of all the ways that you think, I could save money by doing this, but you haven't tried those strategies yet. Just keep that running list, stick it right to your refrigerator. Tip number 9, map out a plan to pay off debt. If you are in debt, you want to make sure you get that debt paid off. Now, if you want some help with budgeting and figuring out how to pay off that debt, then you might want to take a look at our Frugal Finance Planner. We're going to make sure that there's a link to that in the description of the video.
And remember, debt is not your friend. Debt is eating up money out of your budget that you're just throwing away to pay interest on it. Tip number 10, read. Pick up a newspaper, pick up a publication, go online. But you want to have your finger on the pulse of the financial climate. And right now, it is changing almost weekly. So you kind of want to know what's going on. That gives you a little handle on how to plan for the future.
One of the things that we are seeing is that people right now in this economy are being driven by fear. Now, the best way to combat that fear is to arm yourself with viable information that is balanced. So that's what we're talking about when we say make sure that you keep up to date on exactly what's going on in the economy. By the same token, prices are going up and you can't hide your head in the sand and think, no, if I just don't look, the prices aren't going up, because they are. So I think we are facing a different situation right now than we have ever faced in our lifetime. But once again, make sure that you are facing it armed with a lot of information, because that will help you to balance that out and not be driven by fear.
There's some very specific things that we do during the last quarter to kind of adjust our budget and project what we're going to do for the next year.
These specific things help us to be able to finish the year strong and to make sure that we are prepared to set our budget for the upcoming year. If you want to see the deets on all of what we do, there's a video. It's right over there. Give it a watch.